What's Shirlene doing here? What, am I on? Of course, I'm speaking direct.
Good evening. Welcome to the New Shore Town Council meeting, Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. There are agendas over on the table if you don't have one, and it should be a pretty good meeting. A couple of things as we start that I wanted to talk about. As if you don't know, I'm Sven Riesum, second warden. Andre is not here, and a couple things for this meeting. One, for public comment, we will have any public comment. We're going to ask everybody to keep it to 2 minutes per comment, just to try and keep everything managed and have good feedback. For public comment, there's really never a discussion. It's not about discussing it. It's getting it on the record and having that. Two, we'll keep to everything on the agenda. So sometimes there's tendencies for us to go off agendas and have different dialogues, and I want to keep everything to the agenda as much as possible. Lastly, unfortunately, and you can all talk to the facilities director, but there's no camera today. So we're recorded voice, just no visuals. And so we are on Zoom, everything's recorded, and we are live by Zoom. So with that, we'll start the meeting. First item on the agenda is public comment. Go ahead, Kim. No, just 2 minutes would be great. Thank you. Yeah. There's a small stipend. And I'm sorry, Kim, that is by the charter. So the charter of the town has that. Oh.
And I don't want to take up more of that 2 minutes, but maybe later I can hear from everyone what exactly is your responsibility, because I am a little confused by that. Last meeting, you snickered amongst yourselves about the littering and the garbage that lies on this God-given island. We are guests here, and we are to honor the 7th generation rule. No new garbage vehicle, that is a waste of money. It can be better used in another way to clean this island. We, the people, do not want or agree. I think you should cancel your vote. You also kept telling me to sit down and be quiet. It is only your voices that are to be heard in that last meeting. Number 2, there is a grant to provide the workforce housing units. It's Infrastructure Bank Awards for BI. This project will maintain a year-round workforce and strong local economy. No workers, no revenue. Where is the senior advisory, human resource, mental illness, addiction, street workers? I have seen many of people who need assistance and are not getting help. Number 4, hear this. I said yesterday that I hope you have a lawyer present, because you are all going to be summoned to Superior Court. That's already in the works. Greedy men and women wipe greedy men and women's asses and have blood all over their hands. You all seem like dictators, and it is absurd to watch. Enabling bad behavior. Tourism, smallest town of corruption, in my opinion, smallest state of corruption. We are being held accountable, all of us, from the governor to the attorney general to the state police to the Block Island police to Matt Moynihan to Peter Chabot and numerous others on this island. It's all in Superior Court. Manassas, Little God's Island, by the Narragansett Indians. We are on the bones. We're living on the bones of our Native American ancestors here on Block Island. We are not honoring our forefathers and our foremothers. We are raping this island, literally, figuratively, and environmentally. Everyone's moral compass is going the wrong way. It's fundamentally wrong. Now here's this nice one. Yes, yes, yes. As we all know, that my mother was murdered by greed and corruption on this island, August 4th. That too is in Superior Court. I have not got the protection from anybody on this island except my own family and friends, not my brothers. I was I was locked out of Mahoney's illegally with my medicine belongings in there. Block Island police would not open the doors to let me in. No one asked me if I needed anything before they did that. They refused to help. I've called the police twice to do a wellness check on my brother Sean, and I got told I'm going to be arrested by Bill the other night after my mother's service. I was told if I trespass on Mike Moped in the Inn at Old Harbor, who's Jose is a rapist and stalker, it's supposed to be under investigation for 1 year. Don't tell me to be quiet. Today I was not told. Hear me, please. I got an illegal ticket from Bill, and I have photos of Jose doing illegal things. You are all so stupid because the illegal actions are blatant. The police refused to give me a temporary restraining order. That's illegal. Today I was told not to trespass on Captain Nix. All is illegal without papers being served. They can tell me no trespassing, but I can't get protected. Something's wrong with that picture. Something is wrong with that picture. I know the truth. And I'm saddened, I am saddened, and I will tell you my truth. Disgusted that people's lives are not as important as each one of people's lives. Thank you.
Okay, any other votes for public comment? Motion.
At the risk of not having perhaps attended a meeting or read an article in the newspaper, I have been concerned about the welfare or the mental welfare of students generally in our country. And I was worried about the state perhaps putting undue pressure on students and their families with the goal of catching up due to COVID. And in my opinion, that could only add further stress to the families and the youngsters. And I was wondering if it was possible for the school system to address the town to bring us up to speed as to what the state is exactly demanding from the teachers and the students and what their plan is to address the issue. I personally will have made myself available as a volunteer tutor, but the last thing I want to see is more stress. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Sven, would you mind if I just called attention to an email that we got this week that I think is important? We get, for those of you who don't know, if you're on the council, Marianne gets it as well. We get a regular email from Block Island Health Services reporting on their board meetings, and we got one this week. And there was a paragraph in the most recent one that I think very much goes to a lot of the things we have been discussing and will be discussing. And I just want to read it for the record. Dr. Workup reported that the number of trauma and rescue calls increased by more than 30% over 2021, 103 year to date versus 70 in 2021. Additionally, the medical center allotted 493 slots for walk-in or calls over the summer for individuals who do not use the medical center as their primary care provider, and saw an additional 542 of this type of patient up to this point. The burden on clinical staff is significant and not sustainable. We get a lot of, in a really good way, we get a lot of emails and a lot of messages from the community. But I really think as we're going through policy discussions over the next several months, we really ought to keep these numbers in mind. They're very concerning, and I find them very compelling. Thank you for your indulgence, Sven.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, absolutely.
Public comment? Going, gone. Okay. Act to set, second item on the agenda is act to set a public hearing date for amendments to the New Shoreham zoning ordinance, Article 2, Section 202 definitions, Article 4, Section 405 affordable housing, Article 5, and Section 513 accessory apartments. Just to be clear, this is about setting a public hearing date, not about discussing the case itself or any of the merits, because there's a lot in there. If you haven't all read it, please read it, because there's a lot of good work that was done. Mary Ann, Millie?
So as you know, you need to advertise this, and you have to do it for a period of time as required by charter and ordinance. A date that Millie and I have come up that you can hold a public hearing is on October 9th
Oh, really? Okay, great.
at that council meeting.
And just for everybody's edification, October 19th, that is a normal town council meeting, or meeting. And if that goes on, we can always roll it to the next meeting if there's a large amount of public comment or work to be done. So, good. Okay, October 19th. Yeah. Any comments? I'll make a motion to set the public hearing date for the new Shoreham zoning ordinance, Article 2, Section 202 definitions, Article 4, Section 405 affordable housing, Article 5, Section 513 accessory apartments on October 19th at the regularly scheduled town council meeting. Second by Mark. Any comments? Martha, how do you vote?
Aye.
Keith? Mark? Aye. I vote in the affirmative as well, 4-0, October 19th. Tell everybody to come for housing. We all know how important it is. Item number 3, discuss and act on request of Dana Barron for a special temporary permit pursuant to zoning ordinance section 112 to bring a van camper to the island to be used as a construction office at 169 Old Town Road. Prior to doing that, can you all, because I didn't, can you all mute your phones? I'm now doing mine, and I forgot it. So, discuss and act. Keith, Martha, Mark, thoughts?
I thank the applicant for bringing it forward, because usually people just bring them here and they don't care less and do it and beg forgiveness later.
Keith?
Have we done this before? I just, the only, my only experience with trailers and construction sites, I know that the town went through a lot of work and thinking on this. It's pretty specific about what's permitted and not permitted. I was pleased that the application said that it wasn't going to be used for living accommodations. But I was also concerned that that's virtually unenforceable. And I mean, I get the idea of a construction trailer, including construction trailers of some size, but for some reason, there was just something about this that made me a little uncomfortable.
Martha?
I'm agree with it specifically because it did say it's not. It's not.
I'm sorry, I should have asked. I didn't see it. Nope. The only comment I had, and then we'll open it up. Yeah, exactly. Sunset date. And then I was wondering if we wanted to have them remove the mattress or something like that, like remove the bedding. But just to sort of prevent that. Any comments from the audience? Any comments, thoughts? Do you want to stipulate remove bedding or not?
Kim has a.
Oh, sorry, Kim. I apologize.
Can you identify the number?
169 Old Town Road.
Right here, right.
It's across the river?
It's across the stream.
That's what I mean, across the stream. Kim, do you want to ask the next question? Because that's sort of butting gear to you.
Jay Murray.
Okay, thank you. Did you get that? One of the Murray lots?
Okay.
Just curious.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Do you want to do you want to do anything about betting or just, I'm fine to,
Is there betting in it?
it's a
don't
camper
know.
van, so I'm assuming that there's a bet in it. Move on.
I
No
move on.
complicate. Okay.
I would just, aside from this application, I know people increasingly use fire numbers as street numbers. Is there a way we can discourage that or encourage the inclusion of the plat lot number? Because
Yeah.
nobody knows. Somebody came in today and asked, total aside here, but somebody came in the shop today and asked me if the fire numbers were an indication of which were the, Marion, I think you were there, which were the oldest buildings on the island, where the lowest number is the oldest buildings. And
You
not
said
even,
yes.
no, I did not.
Anybody want to make a motion? Okay, hearing, I make a motion to approve special temporary permit pursuant to zoning ordinance section 112 to Dana Barron, Barron, to bring a van camper to the island to be used as a construction office at Old Town Road, fire number 169, for a period of
6 months.
for a period of 6 months. Ready? Thank you. Starting tonight.
From tonight or from when it begins, when it lands?
From arrival?
Yeah,
From arrival. That's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Discussion.
All I ask is in the future, when you're requesting something like this, to please be present if you're listening in.
That's Martha's usual thing. You're exactly right. And votes, Keith? Martha?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
I'm a yes. To the non-present Dana Barron, you have 6 months. Fourth item on the agenda, reviewing the financial statements.
So you have August financials in front of you. They are,
And I'm sorry, these are on Clerk Base if you want them, so you can get it on your phone if you need it. Or
otherwise,
your tablet.
I'll give you a few highlights, but not too much. In general, you can see that revenues and expenditures are both tracking pretty closely to last year. Revenues at 36% of budget and expenditures at 20%. Obviously, we're still sort of getting started. Taxes, which is page 2, tax revenue, which includes the first quarter payment, lagging just a little bit behind last year. That's not a surprise, given that we know that we budgeted motor vehicle taxes, which are not being collected. So those are going to be recovered in a different line item, but we know we won't hit that target on the current year collections for taxes.
And you did that by figuring the 45% versus the 43%?
Correct.
Oh, okay, so you're like the index.
It makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
When you look at what the actual levy was. On page 3, you have licenses, permits, and fees. There are 2 line items here that we're going to keep an eye on. Those are other clerks' licenses and fees, line 4060. You can see year to date, just under 15,000 is historically very high, but comparison to last year, much further behind. And my guess is that's primarily driven by property transfers. Last year was an extraordinary year, but we still would hope that those tick up a little bit against the budget for the current year. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, as well as building permits.
Can
you
I
can
just make one comment about that? Because I was talking to Cindy Pappas, and it's just the inventory on the market right now is so low that she indicated that it looked like it was going to be sort of a low, anyway, you get it.
There were some other drivers that led to us increasing that budget item.
Okay.
And so we'll see how it plays out.
Thank you.
Building permits, again, have been very spiky over the last few years. So year to date, 22,000. Last year at this time, 36.5. Again, those are coming in much bigger lump sums. So one payment can change that dynamic pretty quickly. But we'll certainly keep an eye on those too. Moving on to page 4, you have other town fees and income. This is going to be the start of seeing some of our seasonal revenues. So harbors in particular, down a little bit against last year, not surprising. Fuel prices in particular, changing some of the dynamic in the boating industry, but still very strong. And I know when you get to the summer wrap up, Kate will give you a lot more detail on her experience over the summer. And then the other item we had talked about last meeting was the Fred Benson Beach other income, which is the third line from the bottom. It turns out that not all the payments had been posted and captured in that last report. So if you look at the numbers through August, this captures all of the revenue for July and August, 107,000, a very strong summer at the beach. You can see last year's year to date of 80,000. So
Amy, I'm sorry, I got distracted. Someone distracted us. The beach,
so this is rental revenue from chairs and
Right.
umbrellas and things like that. It had looked very low
Yep.
when we looked at the July numbers. We have not only made up that gap, but really moved far ahead.
okay, so it's just deferred.
It was just deferred.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Other questions there? If we move ahead to page 6, state aid, very little activity so far. Only the cottage tax for July and August. There is a 2-month lag on the hotel and meals tax, so we're just starting to see those come in for this summer. On page 7, you have grant revenue. And no activity yet on page 8, which is transfers and reserve. Which moves us to the expenditure side, unless anyone has any revenue questions. Administration, again, we're seeing these broken out by function a little bit better. Hopefully that is useful to people. The one thing I would call your attention to would be that contingency line, just a reminder that we then appropriated 29,005 in support of the revaluation. So that's not flowing through these books now, but we want to keep that in mind throughout the rest of the year. Mhm. Yep. On finance, page 11. And really most of the departments from here forward, very consistent in terms of wages, and operations are just getting underway. So nothing material really to talk about. Dispatch on page 12. Again, primarily wages. Mhm. Moving ahead to page 13, police. And you're going to have almost an opposite problem here situation in that those wage lines are going to be underexpended versus where we expected, particularly since we had increased and expanded that budget. That's not to say that that will hold, but it may provide flexibility as the department evolves through the next few months.
Can I just ask an accounting question about that? Where do we paid for Chief Shabbat for a period, is that correct? No, that we didn't pay. Thank you.
The other item that really jumps out on this page in particular, but carries throughout the general fund, would be the fuel oil line. You can see year-to-date 11,000 versus 5,000 through last summer. We're not just going to see that in police, we're going to see that in every fuel line, and we will likely see it through the winter as well when we get into the heating oil. So. On pages 14 and 15, you have Public Works. And no particular red flags or things to call your attention to, except a general statement around equipment, vehicle leases, procurement. Some of these dollars here in Public Works and then throughout other areas of the budget. We're really doing some juggling around delivery and vehicles and what you can get when you are allowed to order it and when it actually comes. So whether that crosses fiscal years or presents operating challenges for the people on the roads, that's kind of becoming an operational reality that will likely impact the budget and will definitely impact the way that people are able to work. On page 16, we have harbors. Again, fairly consistent with last year. There's always going to be a little up and down as dollars flow throughout the season. And then just a reminder on the refuse removal that we do recover some of that from some of our partners. So while that looks over budget, it will be offset by some incoming revenue. All right, on page 17, building official. Fairly consistent with last year. The major expense line here is going to be the consultant for building official for 4-leaf. You're not seeing the August bills come in yet, but again, those are holding fairly consistent month to month. There's just a billing lag there. Page 18, we're moving ahead to recreation. Expenses are running a little bit higher, but that's really a factor of a regular program returning. A better summer in terms of weather, but also when you're looking at fiscal year 22, some of those programs didn't run and therefore the expenses were much lower. Up next is library. Again, year to year, almost even. Most of these so far are going to be wage driven and then building maintenance from an operational perspective. This is going to be different than construction work, which is ongoing. On page 20, GIS technology. Questions or concerns? Boards and commissions, page 21. Again, fairly consistent in terms of wages, a little bit of shuffling between the lines in terms of how staffing has happened, but consistent with the overall budget.
This isn't really your area of expertise, but maybe either you or Marianne has a, where are we with the North Light? With the building, with the windows, with getting something up and going next summer? Oh, fine, Shirlene.
Yes,
It's the loudest she's ever been.
the specs haven't been put out for the repairs yet, and the committee will be meeting within the next couple of weeks because some of them live far away and Robbie's been tied up with his other job, but they should be meeting within the next couple of weeks to work on that. You're welcome.
People have been noticing, thanks.
I can just add that there was, I'm sorry. Tom Reesman, Facility Director, the manager, sorry, probably invisible to everybody was the generator died and we went and pulled it apart and it had been eaten pretty much from the inside out by rodents. So we had to ship it back to Cummins and we ran off solar for 4 or 5 months. Robbie carried the new generator out in there, installed it himself, and it's back operating now. So the cameras are running and the security system and the fire system are all running now, but there's a lot going on that's very quiet because that's the kind of guy Robbie is. But my gosh, without him, it wouldn't be running at all. So
Thank you. It's good to know that.
On page 22, we have community support. These are our appropriations to our community organizations as well as the school. Most of these are going to be fixed through the year. We can move ahead to page 24, capital tax. You have a combination here of projects getting started and then those that might have been carried over from prior years. So if you see a line item where there are expenses but zero budget against it, all of those are prior year encumbrances that do have funding from prior years. And then on the last page, you have debt service. And no variables there.
Can I ask a debt service question though? One of the things that you and Marianne provided us with during the budget process was a bar chart that showed when the bonds are defeased over time. Could you provide that to us again? Thank you. It's very helpful. I couldn't find it. Yeah.
I'd just like to thank Amy for really pushing to get things bonded when it was an opportune time.
Just one other comment about layout and format. When we met last, Sven had a request for an additional column, and we are working on that presentation, and that'll be in front of you with our next report. So.
Thank you.
Yes, it's on Bookface now, so you can download it. Bookface. Yeah, I got it this morning on Bookface. So
There was-
no, try again.
There was a problem with sorry.
Oh, sorry.
With Clerkbase this afternoon. Yeah. Yeah, I had the same
Yeah,
problem.
you take that one. Want Marianne?
Can I just add, Amy, I find this to be really, really helpful, keeping track of this every month. So thank you for going through it with us.
That's the only question I had for you. We're gonna get these every month.
Would you
Then I'll,
like
then I'll save my applause and admiration for the finance department till next month.
Wait, how many more columns are we gonna fit? We're gonna fit columns on 8.5 by 11 paper because I'm not gonna be able to, not gonna be able to see them.
Moving on.
I mean, it's a reality, guys. Come on, let's be practical here.
Moving on, item 5, receive an act on report of the town manager, public works, Dungeness Public Works, finance, school construction project, library, recreation, harbor, broadband, police, road. Marianne.
So the town manager's report is relatively short this month. As you can imagine, staff has been very busy winding things up for the end of the busy season. Kate is wrapping up the season and also a couple of the pump outs have already been removed. There is one minor change to my town manager's report, specifically the number of applicants for the police chief's position states 10, we received 11. So I want to be clear on that. And as I've been stating right along, I hope to have a successful candidate to the council by mid-October. Also, we spoke about this at a couple of the work sessions we had, and I just want to provide some clarification. RIPTA on behalf of Block Island and also a number of other cities and states has submitted what they call a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant application. RIPTA is requesting $5 million in federal funds. There'll be match of $1,250,000, which will come from the state's Rhode Island capital budget. So it's a combine of $6.2 million. These funds initially will be used to produce a statewide Safe Street Action Report in collaboration with the municipalities that have chosen to participate in Block Island as one of those municipalities. Once the report has been accepted, there'll be additional funding available, which I don't know the amounts of at this point, and we probably won't know until that time comes, for implementation of some of those things, the action report. And that's pretty much all I have to report for this evening.
And in the, on clerk page, you'll find item number 6, receive an update on broadband construction project.
Sure. This will be quick because John Doherty from Mission is not with us tonight. But if there are some themes for where we are and what we're doing, it's that construction is resumed and that we're finalizing the critical operational details to go live. Certex crews returned immediately after Labor Day. I'm sure you've all seen them. They're working on mainline, drops, aerials, drop cables. One of the other elements is the Crocker contract, which is the final piece of the contracting documentation, will be before the council in October. We're sending that to the town solicitors shortly for their review. And we're finalizing elements for the relaunch of the website, which is really the back end integration that needs to happen, as well as the pretty content on the front, which is necessary to take subscriptions for service. So all of those things are coming together. I would say things are very, very busy in the broadband world, which is exciting. And I'm happy to take questions, but.
I just have a couple. At the last update, we were having a general conversation around governance. Do you feel like that's pressing forward?
I feel like that is pressing.
It's pressing. That's kind of, that's why I bring it up every month. Sorry.
Yes, I would still hope and expect that we convene as a council, hopefully with the broadband committee, and have a focused conversation on that topic.
When do you think, any sense of when that's likely to happen?
I think October is a reasonable timeframe.
Okay.
After the auditors leave would be great.
Right. And I assume that'll be a conversation about, call center affordability, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it will include things like that, here are the things you don't need to worry about.
Great.
Like call center is all
Sure.
staff taken care of with our contracted partners. Don't have to worry about it. Other things that we do need to be worrying about, making decisions about, and planning for operational responsibility for.
Great. Thank you, Amy.
Yep.
Thank you, Amy. Item number 7, receive update on Aldo de Carousel Ray notice of violation.
Sure. So the notice of violation had been issued for the Aldo's carousel. It has been appealed. The public hearing is scheduled for October 26th, 2022. So that is going before the zoning board and it's a public hearing, and being a public hearing, all can attend.
I'm sorry, what was the date?
October 26th.
No, we voted on this many times over the years.
Can I make a request for the next town council? to come up with some kind of language that's enforceable, that doesn't allow what's taken place this summer and what has taken place in countless other summers where a notice of violation is given and the person it's given to, in some way, shape, or form, by denial or whatever means available, delay usually, gets the whole summer in with the violation still intact. So let's work on that, please, so we can do this a lot quicker than we have.
As a point, I think it's a really good discussion to have with the solicitors, like, given our short season and the normal protocols, Millie, of announcing and letting people know, it's a day's game, right? And so the summer being 90 days long or 100 days long, they play the day's game. And so maybe there's ways to at least discuss with our lawyers how to, if there are ways to bridge that. So it's a great topic as we move forward, and I think we should explore that. I'm sorry? Sure. Just get up. Sorry, Kim. No, jump. I don't know.
I am confused as why it is a violation when I see 100 other violations that are so, especially around the Rebecca statue. That's supposed to be one of the most beautiful icons besides
Sure.
the other memorial.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm confused
Yeah.
as why it's such an issue.
Let me answer for you. It's stipulated that you're not, in the ordinances, you're not allowed to ride. There was debate as to what is a ride, and this is in violation that it is a ride. And so literally it's getting that nitty technical. They are saying it's not a ride. And so that is the debate, literally. So I
Okay.
hear you. I hear you. I
Thank
hear
you.
you. Yep.
Thank you.
Number 8, thank you very much, Marianne. Number 8, act to adopt a resolution commending the water rescue off Black Rock of August 28th, 2022. Everybody should have this in their packets. It's also on Clerk Base. If you're okay, Council, I'll read it. And please edit as much as you want, because I know who wrote it. Resolution of the Town of New Shoreham, Rhode Island, in appreciation of our first responders and the August 28, 2022 ocean rescue. Whereas Block Island has significant tourism in the summer that increased the pressure on Block Island's outstanding team of first responders, including excellent police and harbors departments, the Block Island Medical Center, the Block Island Volunteer Fire Department, and the Block Island Volunteer Rescue Squad. Whereas many of the visitors who come to Block Island are ready to assist when called upon. Whereas on August 28, 2022, a distress call went out on VHF's Channel 16 for an unresponsive male on a vessel having a medical emergency off Black Rock headed north. Whereas, not knowing the exact location or make of the boat, Josh Moore, Old Harbor Dockmaster, Chris High, Assistant Dockmaster, along with Bruce Cooley, retired Assistant Chief Warwick Fire Department, who keeps the boat on the dock at Old Harbor, and Adam Hombriant, I hope, Johnson Fire Department, visiting family here on the island, immediately headed out of Old Harbor on a vessel to find and assist the distress. Whereas their quick response, getting to the patient and having CPR started immediately helped save a life. Whereas the vessel was met on the dock by the Block Island Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department, and the patient was taken to the Block Island Medical Center and then airlifted out for further evaluation. Therefore, be it resolved that we recognize with deep appreciation the outstanding efforts of our first responders, rescue, fire, police, and medical, the Harbors Department, and citizens who risk themselves and demonstrate the values of the Block Island community. Therefore, be it resolved that we decree that this resolution be made part of the permanent record of the town. That is the resolution. I make a motion to adopt it, but let's, if there's a second, then we can discuss. Seconded by Keith, but please edit away if there's ways to make it better. Or kill it. Kill it. Martha's got her pen moving, so I'm.
Yeah, all I'm trying to do is make it you know, this was one particular incident we're talking about that merits, I think, I agree, merits special notice. Somehow, just, I can't, I'm not good at thinking out loud. Give me a minute.
Close your ears a little bit then. So one of the things we tried to do when drafting this was to make sure that it wasn't just about an incident or wasn't about a few people. It was really about first responders. And I think that's really important because our first responders daily risk themselves. And so that was the tone. But clearly when citizens are joining call it staff or the Harbors Department, and they're going out on a citizen's boat. I mean, it's just all a great combination. So we really wanted to highlight this.
I think all we need to do is add to the next to last paragraph.
Yep.
We recognize the deep appreciation efforts of our first responders, demonstrate the values of Black Hawk community. Oh, sugar. I guess we're gonna say something like all the, you know, all of the days this day as exemplified on it by this.
Who risk themselves and demonstrate the values of the Black Island community as demonstrated by the August 28th rescue?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I understand the deep appreciation, the ongoing efforts, you know, year-round efforts, and as exemplified on this incident, the ongoing efforts, and then you go back to the end of that, the Black Hawk community as exemplified in this incident, among others or something.
So let me make sure I get this. Then I'll reread this section. We'll amend it. We recognize with deep appreciation the ongoing year-round efforts of our first responders.
Yep.
So we kill outstanding and efforts.
No.
Or no, not
No,
out.
no.
Just
We understand the deep appreciation, the ongoing, ongoing year-round,
outstanding. efforts.
outstanding efforts
Done.
of our first responders.
Yep.
Who risk themselves and demonstrate the values of the Black Hawk community as exemplified on August 28th.
Okay, I'm going to read that paragraph to everybody. This is just the paragraph. Therefore, be it resolved that we recognize with deep appreciation the ongoing year-round outstanding efforts of our first responders, rescue, fire, police, and medical, the Harbors Department, and citizens who risk themselves and demonstrate the values of the Black Island community as exemplified on August 28, 2022.
I think that's okay. And I,
You like
of
Brown.
course, also like to, that Kate's still here. Thank Kate for bringing this to the public attention.
Is your motion, I revised my motion, your second? Okay, would you like to edit?
Do you want to edit?
Any other comments?
Your chance, Keith.
Prior to taking the vote, Kate, do you want to introduce anybody?
I'd like to recognize Josh Moore.
Just for everybody, so thank you, Josh.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody. Kate, outstanding. Thank you. All righty. Oh, sorry, I apologize, Bill. Sorry about that, Bill.
I said in my report, it'll be probably mid-October when we come back. I just got commitment from my last person. It's a 5-member committee. literally 45 minutes before this meeting. Committee's made up of Molly O'Neill, Kim Gafford, Keith Lang, Ken Lacoste, and Captain Peter Shabbat of the Rhode Island State Police Department.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? Just, it's a great list. I apologize. Can you do it backwards? I'm saying it too. Chapman. Yeah. And Pete Chapman. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody volunteering who's here, that's volunteering on that. Discuss number 9. Thank you, Marianne. And Bill, sorry about that. I apologize. Discuss and act on the extension of the contracts for engineering services. First one is James J. Jeremiah Associates, and the second is JM2 Associates. We'll do one at a time. You've all read, this is a rollover. So basically, it's an agreement that was done for 2019 and will be rolled over again for a period of how long, Marianne? 3 year?
I'm asking for a 3-year rollover.
Okay.
It could be 1 year for 3 years or 3 years, and I'm recommending 3 years.
Thank you. Any questions on the Jeremiah agreement contract?
I have a question that's not about the language, but about, I think Jim has served the town long and well. And I assume that we're working to ensure that he stays with us for as long as possible, and that one of my concerns is if he decides to retire, what, sort of what the plan is for continuity on
Good question.
you and I.
Yeah, the good news is, it was Jim who brought this to my attention and specifically said to me, I would like to renew my contract. So he was the one that brought it to my attention, and I said, let me get to the council. Yes. So he's committed for the next 3 years. We've had some dialogue. He knows he's not going to be here forever. So we've started some dialogue. He's been here 40 years. You can never replace 40 years of institutional knowledge, and he's done a phenomenal job. So, the good news is he's committed for another.
I mean, it might even be worth paying someone to walk around with him sometimes, you know what I mean? So that it's not someone just starting fresh. Oh, he does. Great. Thank you.
Keith meant the paying is a sort of a concept, right? No, just joking. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement for on-call engineering and architectural design and consulting services to James J. Jeremiah and Associates for a period of 3 years, commencing at the end of the existing agreement. Seconded by Keith. Comments, questions?
No, I was just going to add to the length of time. Jim first came to work here when the sewer was still in the very early phases of late construction and early operation. So and then expanded out to the rest of the town. So he has been here a very long time, and he knows where the I always say where the sewer lines are buried, which is a matrix that is a lot of people don't know where they are.
Nobody quite knows the height of all of them, but
Look, the only time they didn't find one is because they didn't listen to me.
any other comments? David Lewis.
Road. I'm just curious that none of the council was asked about the pay scale going forward, which is in an attachment that is not part of clerk base. So are you aware of what that locks us into for 3 years, and are you in agreement? And I have no complaint with the service of Mr. Jeremiah, but it's a prudent question for
It is.
any of us, you or me, to ask.
Yeah, his fees aren't changing. I unfortunately do not have that with me either.
But they were helpful
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best news of the evening. Thank you. And I'm glad I asked because I think that's important information for the community to know that, you know, hats off to the town manager for working that out appropriately. Thank you.
Other questions? Making sure I don't know. I'm looking at it just to make sure I don't miss it again, so. Hearing none. I made a motion, it was seconded, didn't I? Correct. Yeah. Mark,
Aye.
Keith, Martha.
Aye.
I'm a yes, and that's unanimous. Next agreement, next contract is for GM2 Associates. Just to start the dialogue, I will make a motion for extension for 3 years, Marianne, right? Make a motion for 3 years extension of the agreement for on-call engineering, architectural design and consulting services pertaining to roadway, intersection and streetscape infrastructure, bridge and building infrastructure, marine engineering, stormwater, dam and water quality parks, open spaces, landscape resiliency and vulnerability. Agreement to GM2 for a period of GM2 Associates Incorporated of Rhode Island for a period of 3 years, effective at the termination of the existing contract on November 20th, 2022. Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Discussion. Marianne, just to make sure we ask it, is the fee schedule, can you help us with the fee schedule?
For this one.
I listened and
I
learned.
need to double check the fee schedule on this.
Okay.
It's not attached.
Let's
Yeah, I
hold.
would hold it. Let me check the fee schedule.
There's no, I mean, it doesn't matter if it waits till the next meeting
Yeah,
from
that's fine.
a GM2 point of view, right?
He said he was happy to renew. We didn't get into the fee schedule, but I'll double check that.
Thank you. So no vote and Millie, thank you. Delay it till next meeting. Okay, number 10, announce schedule for the October 5th, 2022 work session. Currently, it's community budget priorities and summer wrap-up discussion. Marianne, just so we can nip it, summer wrap-up discussion.
Yeah, we would like to move that until November because really the summer doesn't wrap up as far as relates to statistical information, especially with Harvest until after Columbus Day.
Can you just speak a little closer to the microphone? It gets
Sure.
hard to hear you. I'm
So what I
watching
would like to
people
do is move that to November because a lot of the statistical information, especially with Harvest, we will not have until after Columbus Day because they include Columbus Day's numbers.
And maybe for everybody in the room, I think all of us know what it is, I hope. Can you help everybody with what is community budget priorities mean? Like, what does that mean for people in the audience that would,
As I understand that, what that means is a request that came from the council that prior to Amy and I sitting down and really beginning the budgeting process with our department heads, is to get some feedback from the communities as to the input as to what they would like to see in the current budget for the fiscal year budget for fiscal 24. That's my understanding what the council is looking to do with that.
thank you very much, Marianne. Keith?
That was me.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I thought it went well last year. I think we tried it last year. Just to give people in the community an opportunity to say, would you help us here, help us there? We're spending too much there, here, too much there. Establish what, might be new, et cetera, just as part of maximizing community involvement in the budgeting process. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can add to that, because as I think most people here know, the budget's incredibly tight. I mean, we start playing with $30,000 discussion, $20,000 discussions for lengths at time. So a lot of the budget is pretty well defined. But I think Keith really said it well last year, which is, as Amy and Marianne start sitting in, where are you leaning towards? And, how do we lean, if it's medical center, if it's enforcement, if it's, whatever it's going to be as the community dialogue and the council, I think there's always then ways to help. And I think, for example, we're going to have a couple of positions coming up mid-year, Marianne, that was somewhat a result of that dialogue. That's very, very helpful to the island and the town. And I think this is, like Keith said, a really important discussion. Martha, Mark, we're good? Okay. No action there. Discuss and act on board, commissions, committee. Hold on a second. First one, I'm going to assume
I'm
that you are
recused.
recusing.
Yes.
You don't need to leave. Well, you can leave if you want, because legally you're supposed to. The discuss and act on board, commissions, and committees. The first one is to appoint a member to the planning board. Millie, correct me if I'm wrong, we got one letter of interest. And that was from Claire Cummings of Mohegan Trail. I'll read just briefly here. I'm reading to express my interest in filling the planning board's vacant seat. As a full-time resident raising my family on island, I believe I would bring an important viewpoint to the planning board. My perspective would be both complement current members and bring new energy to their work. She has a background with the Nature Conservancy in Rhode Island, the Block Island Conservancy, and currently serve on the Sea Level Rise Committee. And I'm a member of the Fire and Rescue as an EMT, and I'm a board member of the Early Learning Center and the RUSA Fund. I didn't know that. I believe my experience will assist. I make a motion to appoint Claire Cummings to the planning board. Somebody second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Martha, comments? Mark, comments?
Margie's still the chair?
Yes.
I think Claire would be a very good planning board member. I'm not comfortable with the chairman. The chairman. I was the chairman of the zoning board. The chair of the planning board, or the mother-in-law and her father being the presumptive first warden. I know it's a small town. I know we've got lots of conflicts. I just think it's a bridge too far. I think there are other, perhaps, I would hope there are other places. I think Claire serves very, very well at everything she does, and it is not an easy vote. I hope she understands.
Mark, comments?
No, I think you might be overqualified, Claire.
Wait. Any comments from the audience? No, I'm sorry, Dave Lewis first.
It just seems strange and somewhat inappropriate to hear this particular argument of why there may be a conflict of interest when the audience frequently sits here at liquor hearings, moped hearings, cab hearings, where more than one counselor has to recuse oneself. Sometimes not necessarily clear why you feel the need, because there isn't always a direct financial interest. But regardless, I think if ever there was an opportunity to be internally consistent, this is not the opportunity to make an example, because the candidate is a strong candidate. She is an outstanding member of the community. She will have as much longevity on Block Island as any of us would hope to have. And in face of the conflicts that I cited with regard to the council and these various other topics, let the record show that the council has nevertheless been able to perform admirably with those conflicts and recusals. So therefore, I think it's appropriate in this instance that you exercise your executive privilege and confirm Claire's appointment. Thank you.
Anybody else? Claire?
This was something, Martha, that I thought a lot about as well. And I did speak with the Ethics Commission about whether or not it was going to be an issue, and they really only identified 2 issues. It was my father being part of my appointment, which he has recused himself, and the potential that Margie and I would have similar conflicts of interest and making sure that there would be enough people to vote on applications and that kind of thing. We felt that there would be enough people, and my dad is recused, so those were the only two issues that came up, just for the record, so you know.
No, I understand that. I presumed that, honestly. I took it for granted you checked into all of it. I think a lot of the ethics recusals aren't even, they are required by law. I don't always agree with them. I think the problem with the ethics laws in the state of Rhode Island, that they're written for all the wrong reasons. And you can't vote on, your brother's bar, but you can vote on your good buddy's boatyard. It doesn't make any sense. And we're talking about, not talking about, well, who we're voting on, it's talking about, it's the operations of a group. And that's just the way I feel. I said, again, I don't think we've got a better candidate. I think it's a very unfortunate circumstance.
Okay, excuse me, motion made and seconded. Martha, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mark?
Aye.
And I vote aye. It's a 2-to-1 vote in confirmation of the council, and congratulations, Claire. And everyone hears and understands Martha's comments.
You want to
so that-
vote of confidence? Vote of confidence.
Yes. You want to make a
You
motion?
do it.
No, you go ahead.
No, you do it because I voted red too.
Mark, do you want to do it?
Now, what are we voting on?
It's a vote of
confidence
confidence in Claire
in Claire.
Cummings' abilities to fulfill the
I make a motion.
job.
Okay. What?
You said it. Vote of confidence in Claire Cummings' abilities to fulfill the job.
Second.
And why are we doing this when we haven't done it for other appointments?
It's okay.
It's a routine thing
Yes.
that is done if there's a split vote.
And it's not about the vote, it's about the confidence in the person. I make a motion to demonstrate a vote of confidence in Claire Cummings as appointed to the planning board on the 21st of September, 2022, with a vote of 2-to-1.
Second.
Second by Mark.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. 3-0, which just further demonstrates the confidence in Claire. Yes. Thank you, Mark. Okay, the rec board is hopefully easier. No, just joking. Rec board, appoint member to the recreation board. If I can read, Roberta Kloster, thanks Keith, sorry. Roberta Kloster is no longer on the recreation board, and Danielle Bates has asked to be appointed. Dave Sniffen has strongly supported that. So Danielle Bates, I make a motion to appoint Danielle Bates to the rec board.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Discussion. Any on the council? I made a motion. It was seconded. Keith, how do you vote? Martha, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Danielle.
Thank you, Danielle. And the school building committee, there's a request to increase the school building committee from, there we go, to 8 people. Right now, the law pertaining to school building committee is the school building committee must, at a minimum, consist of 8 people, including the superintendent of schools, at least one member of the school committee, a local official responsible for building maintenance, a representative of the office or body by law to construct school building in the municipality, the school principal from the subject school, a member who has knowledge of the educational mission and function of the facility, a local budget official or member of the local finance committee, and at least one member of the community with architectural, engineering, and/or construction experience to provide input relative to the effect of the project on the community and to examine building design and construction plans for reasonableness. And we are, I believe, reappointing the ex officio members to serve in due of the capacity of their office. So these would be the people that fit that sort of description. Those people are Robert Girardi, school superintendent, Charlie Weber, school committee, Kylie Riley, school principal, Melanie Reeves, school finance director, Tom Reesum, building maintenance. And then there will be a representative of the office authorized to construct school buildings. There will be additional members appointed to that committee, assuming there will be additional members appointed to that committee, but that is not on the agenda right now. It's increase the size to 8 members and appoint the ex officio members to the school building committee.
Just so that I understand this correctly, we would be, we're increasing the size and then at our next meeting would consider the additional 2?
Yes. So this is right now, the way the agenda is written is school size 8 ex officio appointments. So, well, the folks ex officio are Robert Girardi, Charlie Weber, Kylie Riley, Melanie Reeves, and Tom Reesum. Marianne, can we really appoint a representative of office authorized to construct school buildings? Name? Yeah, so let's just do those 5, right, for now, if you're good with that. Okay, is that clear?
I'll just explain to you why it's sort of two pieces. These are the ex officio, they serve in the capacity of their office. The representative of the office is essentially representing. And I feel like that was kind of ex officio, but maybe not, we can decide. And the other 2 are going to come to see at later dates. We're going to have.
Right.
Okay.
Right, perfect. So do we need to actually appoint ex officio members given that?
Technically, we do. Could we appoint an XX now? Or can we wait on that? Let's have a discussion. There's no rush, right?
What the committee needs to get going, as required under the school building rules and regulations, that you have to have a building committee in place. They've had a building committee. It's been coming and going. It's met once in the last year.
Ooh.
There's a number of things that we really need to start moving on, as I've said in the project to the council in recent meetings. It's a major project. We really need to get underway. I would strongly recommend that you appoint at least these 5 this evening. I think they're required to advertise the last one, this one here, unless you come up. Yeah, if it's an office authorized to construct school construction, if you think there's an employee or a town employee or school employee that can do that, then.
Well, can we appoint you or your designee?
I would think so.
Then that's what we should do.
So just to make sure everybody caught that, I mentioned the 5 names, and then if the 6th name is Marianne Crawford, town manager or their designee. As a 6th person. You agree? That's where you're at? Yeah.
So I'm going to get this committee going. And then it's a standing committee of 6. It looks like we have a form, so we can get this moving, and then the other 2 will start, and we'll catch them up to speed when they get it.
So I make a motion officially to make the school building committee 8 members and to appoint Robert Girardi, Charlie Weber, Kylie Riley, Melanie Reeves, Tom Reesum, and the town manager or designee. I'm sorry, 10, I apologize. Make a motion to make the school building committee 10 members. Keith? I owe you. So I made a motion. Okay, I'll repeat it. I make a motion to have the school building committee of 8 members to appoint Robert Girardi, Charlie Weber, Kylie Riley, Melanie Reeves, Tom Reesum, town manager or designee to the school building committee effective immediately.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Discussion. By anybody. Looking at all the builders. Hearing none. Keith? Yes. Martha?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
I voted affirmative as well. Congratulations to Tom, Melanie, Kylie, Charlie, and Rob, and town manager as designate. Other announced other vacancies, the Deer Task Force, no one is leaving without putting their name down for the Deer Task Force. Motor Vehicles for Hire, Police Advisory Commission, and School Building Committee, 3 members. 2 members, sorry, 2 now. Thank you. Okay, item number 12, receive update on current tenant maintaining occupancy at the Coast Guard station. Marianne, can you help?
I sure can. Just as a reminder to the council, it's also on clerk base. We had a discussion similar to this back on November 17, 2021. At that point, I informed the council that we did do a search and I was moving forward with a new, what we call manager's apartment individual. Mark Tilson was going to stay in the apartment and continue that position until December 31st, 2022, which is this coming December. And Philip Trudeau, who is sitting back there, just a little wave, Philip, is currently a Hubbard's employee, and he's still a Hubbard employee, who will transition to that job during the summer and take on that role as the Coast Guard Station Manager in January of 2023. The council received a letter from Mark Tilson, and we met, myself, the facilities director, Philip, and Mark, to discuss this. And at that meeting, we discussed transition extending, because Mark had made the request to extend his transition to May 1st of 2023. That'll begin the season of next summer season, which will allow Philip to begin the process of moving into the apartment and also start taking over the role of the manager of the Coast Guard apartment. So that's what I have as an update for the council in that regard.
Okay. Discussion among council, just, and I wanted this to be, I'm sorry.
Confused. Where does the May 223 come into? And May, I thought you said May 2023.
That's correct. What had happened originally, it was December 31st, 2022, which is coming up in a few months. I advised the council last November that's what would be happening. Mark Tilson wrote a letter requesting that it extend until August 2024. I met with Mark and Philip. Tom Rissom was involved. Shirlene was in that meeting also, about how we can talk about possibly accommodating Mark's request. And what was decided that we would extend Mark's staying in the Coast Guard apartment until May 1st, 2023. At that point, Philip would transition in the apartment as we begin the summer season of 2023.
So that followed Mark's letter.
Correct.
Okay, that's,
In response to or as a reaction
that I
to?
didn't
In
understand.
response.
Yeah, and was that acceptable to all parties?
Yeah, I don't think it was, Mark has told me that wasn't acceptable to him.
So, Marianne, just to make sure I understand a little bit to Martha's comment, the timing, so based on, and in clerk base, there are two letters. One was from council to Ken Lacoste, who was then first warden, that basically went through, and then the extension of the agreement to, so it's 13 months was sort of the December 31st agreement, is that right?
Correct, back last November.
So
was
in
the
November, when we met,
In November 17th was at a council meeting where you asked me for the same question. You asked
Yeah.
me for an update. I provided an update and talked about that Mark will be staying on as the manager until December 31st, 2021. At that point, Philip will transition
yep,
to it. We received a letter from Mark in August. At that point, we met and we talked about this, and Philip agreed to delay his moving into the apartment until May 1st, 2023.
and thank you, Philip, for agreeing to that. And then prior, just to get dates set for everybody, Mark retired well before that, November 21. December 20, so it was roughly a year before then. Okay. 12, 20. So retirement was roughly 12/20. The November note was then another year, so it's okay. 18 plus 20, about 30. Okay. Just getting timelines set. That's all my goal. Questions, thoughts from the council?
Members of the council, I do just have a comment. This is Town Solicitor Nick Solitro. Just for your consideration, if the council elected to terminate this agreement, meaning Mr. Tilson would have to vacate the premises, that decision would have to be made not immediately, but relatively soon, because one of the terms of the lease is that written notice must be provided to Mr. Tilson at least 60 days before the end of his current tenancy. So that in layman's terms means if he were to be required to vacate by the council, written notice would have to be in his hand by November 1st for him to vacate on or before December 31st. And with some suggestion that there might be, or that it's been in the past suggested that there be an amendment to this lease, I would suggest if that is the case, that agreement be in writing, with the parties being the town and Mr. Tilson. But the date to be concerned about would be November 1st for our notice to be in hand, preferably delivered to him by constable or similar individual, to guarantee his tenancy ending on December 31st.
Okay, I'm confused again. Are we talking about December 2021, December 2022, or May 2023?
Currently, the lease ends December 31st, 2022. Marianne is proposed, again, sorry, Marianne. I believe Marianne's proposing, and Philip has agreed, Mark may not, to go to May 1st, 2023. And by the way, the agenda here is receive an update. So it's no actions, we can discuss, I guess, on the update, but it's to receive an update. Marianne has just informed us that she is or however we want to phrase this, is willing to extend the lease from 12/31/22 to 5/1/23. And Philip has agreed to that. Again, thank you. So I guess what Marianne's planning based on this update is to extend the lease, which would then be April 1, March 1 letter to Mark based on Nick's comments. Just as, again, timeline protocol.
And if it were going to, just to jump in there, if it were going to be an extension, my suggestion would be we, on behalf of the town, enter into a lease modification or an amendment to this lease agreement, setting forth the terms by which Mr. Tilson could remain there, and also the terms by which notice to terminate that agreement would occur. That's something I certainly can work with the town manager on. But I think one question that we don't have the answer to right now is whether or not Mr. Tilson would be agreeable to that.
Right.
And if he's not, it may be the town's position, and I'm not suggesting it, but it may be the town's position that the town terminate the lease on the date that it was set forth in the agreement as it stands, meaning December 31st. My only reason for jumping in at this point is if the town did in fact want the lease to end on this upcoming December 31st, notice would have to go to Mr. Tilson by November 1st of this year.
Thank you, Nick. Comments, again, the agenda item, and as I said in the beginning, is to receive update on current tenant maintaining occupancy. Comments, thoughts?
I have comments.
Just let me go to the council first for a second. Keith, Mark? Good, okay, good. Mark, your hand was up. See? Thank you, Mark.
Good evening. I want to thank you for your time and consideration of the equities I raised in my letter, my recent letter to you. I am in the process with the approval of a wonderful support of a property owner on Block Island to construct a new accessory apartment, new 513 apartment. The permitting and construction will take some time, and that's why I'm asking the town council permission for an extension of my residency at the Coast Guard station. The project is underway. We have cleared the area of land where the approximately 800 square foot building will be located and have received proposals from local builders for various stages of construction. And we're hoping to begin construction early in the winter, weather permitting. It is my intent to move out of the Coast Guard station. I continue to look for alternative housing, but as we all know, housing is kind of difficult to find on Block Island. If I do find a suitable rental, I will move out as soon as I possibly can. Another just quick point I'd like to point out to the council, in the past months, I have been looking and have met with numerous property owners, excuse me, to discuss building a 513 apartment on their property. 4 have said yes, but due to financial situation, our stock market, or other issues and timing, the timing just wasn't working out for the families. 2 of the owners said they're willing to start the construction in 2 years. So I just wanted to point that out, that there are people out there willing to start proceeding with constructing more 513s. Another point I would like to make to the council, and I can't get into a lot of detail because this group has not officially been formed, but they are creating a new 501c3, which will provide funding to assist the construction of new 513 apartments on the island. I have had discussions with some of the group's members, and they are very interested in using this project as a demonstration. I have discussed the project with past and current members of the Solar Initiative, and they are also interested in funding and providing grants for heating, cooking, and appliances. As I said before, we have received proposals from our local builders, and they have all sharpened their pens and volunteered to help. I will be providing as much sweat equity as I can in constructing this, plus a financial contribution. It is our hope that this will be a blueprint for other property owners on the island, the demonstration project on how to go about creating 513 apartments. We're going to have grant monies available, seed money, if you will, with the Solar Initiative. There are a lot of people interested in becoming part of this. The issue that I have is I need, as I said in my letter, I really would request additional time at the Coast Guard station.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the same thing I said at that meeting last November. And that is, I really don't like the idea of, given the housing crisis we have, of putting someone out of housing. So given that we're not going to act tonight, I would request that the town manager and look into whether there is any town-owned alternative because I think we want to leverage the construction of 513s. We want to demonstrate that. But having said that, we've given a great deal of notice, et cetera. So it just seems like if we could work on this over the next 30 days or so, that'd be wonderful. There's some alternative where the town is not put in a position of putting someone out of their housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Mark?
My question would be, how much of a hardship would it be to fill if Mark's request was embraced by the town council? Is there alternate housing available for that person so that Mark can stay there and go through this great idea that we hope will become contagious? So that would be part of the investigation before we make a decision.
So I just in response to that, I mean, here's the thing. Phil hasn't done anything but act in good faith on this thing.
Actually, generous.
He was generously agreed to extend last year and then this year. So I would rather not sort of put him on the spot about this. This is our problem to try to solve. And what I think is our compelling need to sort of not be in a position of putting someone out of housing. And if my position might be different, frankly, if this 513 idea didn't hold so much promise, you know what I mean? Like, I think we tend to be in the business of accommodation, and we ought to, do our best to try to accommodate Mark. He has spent decades working on that property, and I appreciate it. He's a retired town employee who's sort of engaged in a project that we're all trying to figure out a way to develop more of. So, if we can, it may not be as wonderful as the existing apartment is, but I would very much like to make sure that we're not, as I said, putting people out of housing.
I don't have anything to add to what Keith and Mark recommend.
Yep. So I want to add a couple of things, and I remember, can I go, Doug, and then, hold up. So I want to add a number of things to this, and I remember a number of years ago, there was a meeting that got very emotional, very serious, and I remember looking at Kim and Kim looking at me and saying, there shouldn't be any names in these discussions. This shouldn't be about people. This should be about jobs and responsibilities and things of that nature, because I think the minute you get names into it, it's sort of a different thing. In my opinion, I think it's public record. Kate wrote a very, very good letter the other day, I thought, sort of about this situation, which was the commitments in the future of the Harbor Department and where the Harbor Department is going. And it's very difficult to plan any kind of succession planning, especially with certain people leaving the Harbor Department without housing. And as Sam Bird often said, every single decision in this building comes back to housing. And so I think, to Keith's comment, this is really not about the person moving into an apartment. This is about town employees and how to help somebody as they're moving out of the apartment. So I guess my ask of the town manager personally would be, first of all, thank you for coordinating the 5 months. So thank you for agreeing to it. I understand where Mark's at, he wants the 18, I get that. But at least there's there's movement. And I personally would say, if there's a way to find, I think Kate mentioned Thomas, or maybe there's Motor Pool or something like that, But I think that is, places that Mark could relocate to that that reflect sort of, look, it's been 12 months, 13 months, 5 months. Last time I had that all up, it was 30 months that Mark has been in town housing. And again, years and years and years of service. So I'm not questioning that. I think it's, and we want to support the 513 and this whole effort, especially the nonprofit, which I've heard a lot about. So my hope would be that we can help Mark find some other housing, but that really fill up, in my opinion, or excuse me, the Harbors Department and the person taking care of the Coast Guard station should start occupying that apartment in May. Again, I want to keep names out of it. So that's my opinion. We've heard from other folks. People in the audience, give me your hand still up. If it wasn't up, you don't have to speak, Doug.
What's that?
I said if your hand wasn't up, I didn't mean to call.
I just want to say a few things about Mark Tilson. I know you don't want to hear names,
No,
but
no,
you got to hear
You
names.
understood my point.
He spent 32 years as our building official. He came here at a time when the town was critical, just like it was a couple of months ago when we had no building official. We didn't know where we were going. He came out here from the mainland, left his job, 32 years, overworked, underpaid. He saved the town so much money because he held every license. He did plumbing, electrical, heating. He was our CRMC representative, the DEM. You know how much money he saved the builders in the town by not having to delay our projects for a week or two, waiting for somebody from the state to come out here? For the same 32 years, he was the house manager for the Coast Guard station. He worked there. He was in charge of maintenance. He was the GC on all the projects that went there. I remember they came one year, they redid this outside, the mainland contractors opened it up, thing was totally rotten. But he was there and he contributed to it. I know personally, a couple of years ago, there's a contractor putting in windows wrong. Mark stopped him, said, no, we're going to do it this way. He helped him for a couple hours. Mark to the Coast Guard station is very much like Robbie Gilpin was to the North Light. Without Mark, that Coast Guard station would be a pile of dust. He put his heart into it. He did the budgeting. He got you the well. He did many things, and he was the house mother. You know, it's not easy on top of being the building official. He took care of the property. He took care of the maintenance. And the other thing is, I'm going to leave it at that. But I don't know if this new person will continue to do all the jobs that Mark did as part of the rent, or if you're going to go hire somebody to do the maintenance now. I don't know. I know you have to restock the apartment because Mark owns everything in the apartment. That's a budgetary thing. I don't remember that at the financial town meeting last year, if this was planned. Anyway, I just want to say he's given his heart and his life to this town. And I believe if you can help him, I think he definitely deserves it. He has served above and beyond what was expected or what should have been. You know, anybody could just be building, I won't say anybody, but you could be a building official, but to go beyond and go get your, be certified in the flood zone, be certified by coastal, be certified by DEM, respected by the state, saving the town money because you hired one person, not 3 or 4 or 5. Because what happens in this town a lot of times is somebody leaves after 30 years, there's 3 people take their place. It didn't happen with him. So all I'm going to ask is anything you can do for him, please do it. He certainly deserves it. Thank you.
So considering there's a potential deadline of November 1st, is this going to be on next month's agenda for an action?
Let's get an update from where things are.
So I think on that, well, I think it should include action possibly next month too. I don't think we should.
Well, they're going to be tonight. Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is approved minutes for open and closed.
I just need a clarification in open session on September 6th, item 7. Regarding the south parking lot of Mr. Benson's Town Beach. The last few words. Item 7. The last few words maybe should be omitted. And they are simply, if they disturb them. Disturb it, yeah. I don't think that should be in there because I think they're responsible for all the warranties, even if it's not they're disturbing it. For example, heavy rainfalls and such. You understand what I would say? That's why I wanted this on the agenda to start with. To cover ourselves in the case that all the hard work that was done there wasn't sufficient or was inadequate, so it could be repaired.
The way I read, sorry if you don't have them in front of you, but the way I read this is if Orsted did something to the parking lot, so as an example, the bed, then they would be responsible, requiring them to maintain the parking lot if they disturb it. Things like when sand filled into the southeast corner. And remember, Martha actually brought this up, and Mike Shea got all that. That's not Orsted stuff.
No.
So I think this is the intent of this. The way I read it was, if they touched it, they're responsible for it. If the dunes slide it back or whatever, they're not responsible for that. That was the way I read it.
Okay, I can definitely understand that. My concern, again, is what took place there after that heavy rainfall earlier this month, where it turned again into a pool. And I'd like for us to be covered. Marianne, are you comfortable with the language in there that they will do the right thing?
I am.
Yeah?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I'm just covering our town.
Yeah, and that rain event we had, I did send the pictures to town engineer and he took a look at them, and based on the rainfall that we had in that short period of time, that he was okay with it, and I sent further pictures up to him also.
That clarification, I have no problems with the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the September 6th, 2022 open, September 6th, 2022 closed, and September 7th, 2022 open minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Comments, questions? Keith? Martha? Mark?
Aye.
Sven, aye. Unanimous approval. Thank you, Millie, very, very much. On the agenda is not any closing comments. Kim, I'll amend the agenda to allow closing comments. Because it's not on the agenda, it's not supposed to be done, but it's my pleasure. So if you can do it in 2 minutes, that'd be great.
I have to tell you first, I'm a little offended about the 2 minutes for speaking when we've had to listen to much of the banter that I thought was inappropriate for us to have to listen to.
Before we start, don't we need approval from the rest of the council members if we're going to amend the agenda?
Oh, sorry.
Because this sets a bad precedent, I think.
You're right. We should have done that. I apologize. I make a motion to amend the agenda to allow 2 minutes for closing comments of anybody in the audience. If there's no second. Okay, hearing no second. Keith, Martha, Mark. Okay. Kim, I'm sorry. But I,
Thank you so much.
I make a motion. I make a motion to, keep that open meeting. I make a motion to go into closed session.
No, there isn't.
Want me to do it? We're currently, in 2021, the town council passed an ordinance on mopeds. That was appealed to the Superior Court by the moped licensees, which is the first case that you see there, Bill. That's the temporary restraining order was issued, and then that was appealed to the Supreme Court. That happened within a relatively tight time frame. We've been waiting probably close to a year and a half for the Supreme Court to act, and this is an update on that litigation. Like in the winter of 2021, yes.
Aye.
I thank you guys all very much. I appreciate it. Josh, thank you.
Josh.
Thank you. everybody just left the site and looked in the field, and that was like part of the job. Good evening. Thank you. I make a motion to come out of closed session. Seconded by Keith Stover. Any discussion? Mark, how do you vote? Aye. Martha?
Aye.
Keith? Yep. I am in affirmative as well. It's unanimous, 4-0 to come out of closed session. I am here to report that no votes were taken. And I make a motion to seal the minutes and close the open session. You want to do one at a time? I make a motion to seal the minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Keith?
Yes.
Martha?
Yes.
Mark? I vote as well. Unanimous to seal the minutes, that unanimous to close the closed session. And I make a motion to close the public 9/21/2022 town council meeting.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Martha? Mark, you've already left the table. I would like to stay for a little while, if you don't mind. Thanks, everybody. The meeting is over. We really appreciate anybody who's hung in there. Thank you very much for joining.